Today we're going to be talking about what home means to you and why it's really important to identify the key concepts before you start house shopping. So for anyone new to the channel, I'm a mortgage lender licensed in 48 states. All I do all day is talk to my clients about what they can afford, what they're comfortable with, but also what do they want out of a home. You know, a lot of times people go, oh, I want this many bedrooms and this many bathrooms and I want granite. There's so much more to it than that. So this video is designed to help you guys identify some key questions to ask yourself. I'm gonna have Alexis on my team. We're gonna put together a worksheet with some other questions that you guys can ask yourself. If you want a copy of that, just text me and say, home worksheet, please. My cell phone number it's everywhere, guys. It will be in the comments as well. Okay, so I'm also gonna be talking about my personal journey because the most important thing I want you guys to get from this video is what home means. It's different for everybody. Yeah, there's no one definition of home. And that's what I think gets lost a lot. You know, we've all been programmed, by Instagram, you know, and all social media to be like, oh, I want this big, beautiful house. I want this, I want that. It's all very material, but there's a lot more to home than the material items or coverings in it, okay? So the first thing to ask yourself is, what stage of life are you in, okay? And really examine that and think about it. So for instance, the house you buy in your 20s, if you're not married and you don't have kids, it's very different than the house that you buy once you have children, to a large extent, because before you have children, you're not going to be thinking about school districts unless you're an investor. You're not going to be thinking about how close the local park is. You're not going to be asking yourself, does this neighborhood have enough kids? Whereas once you have children, that's definitely a lot of the key questions you should be asking if it's a priority to you, right? You know, first house, no kids, like what's the priority? Are we looking to be near restaurants? Are we looking to be close to work? Are we looking for a house that potentially will be an investment? What are we looking for? Because that house is all you. You're not having to consider anyone else. I'm just thinking about that guy. I've never done that. I've always had someone else involved. So relish the moment, guys. You've got no one's opinion. This is your moment. So really drill into what makes you happy. Okay, so the first thing's always like work. Work's important. If you have a job, obviously, you want to make sure you're within commuting distance. So how far are you willing to drive? And this goes regardless of life stage. How far are you willing to drive? Write that down right now. If you work remote, the question you guys need to ask yourself is, do you actually want to buy in the state that you're calling me about? Seriously, you guys would be so surprised how many times I get applications, and when I start actually talking to the person, and either they work remote or they're on VA disability, but basically they have the ability to live anywhere in the country, right? We end up switching states. So ask yourself, America is a big country, guys. And I know the concept of moving to a different state can be scary. I did it recently. I was really nervous about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not. It's really not. So ask yourself that question, okay? Now, if you're in the stage of life where you have, children, you're gonna be asking different questions. You're gonna be asking, what's the school district like? Are there parks nearby? What's gonna entertain these children so that they do not drive you mad? Traffic, and look, every parent's different. So I want to be really clear that I'm not judging how people parent. Some people homeschool, so the school district doesn't matter, but they need to make sure they have a big enough space for their kids to homeschool. As a parent, if you watch my videos, this is not shocking. I'm a bubble wrap mom, total. I wanted as safe as I could get. Always, always safety number one. Number one, California has a website called Megan's Law. And the reason we actually sold our first house and bought a new one is because we looked up our address on that when I was pregnant, and it was terrifying. It was really scary what was surrounding us. So I was like, we're moving, and we moved. Okay, so you need to think about what your priorities are as a family. Okay, very important. You know, if you have a kid that plays soccer, being close to that soccer field that they're at like 20 hours a week is going to be helpful. You know, how close to the schools are you? How good are the schools? You know, are there other children in the neighborhood? And then, of course, yourself still, how far is it from work? Do you work remote? All of those things are things you should be considering. But it's very important that you're sitting down and writing this stuff down now. Then you have another life stage, right? The kids are gone, okay? I'm in that life stage right now where my son's grown up, my husband's daughters are grown up. So we're like, oh my gosh, we can do anything. We can do anything we want. What do we want, right? So we're now in the life stage where, you know, we're established in our careers. So we're like, okay, we want to be near restaurants because we like to eat. Who doesn't? We want to be near restaurants. We want to be near museums. Like, look, we're those old people in the museum every weekend being like, I don't know why they did that, right? You know, we want access so that we can go walking places. We want to be able to walk to coffee in the morning. You know, think about life stage, what you want to do. Some people, you know, they want to go live out on a farm. They want to be away from people. So you really want to consider that. And then you move on to retiring, which is a totally different ballgame again. You know, we've helped so many people from America, that sounds so weird. We've helped so many people from other states move to like the villages in Florida and retirement communities. Like, I get it. Those communities are really cool. They have all these activities, they're insulated, they have high security, great resources. If the power goes out, like that place pretty much has their own, I think like they basically like control PG&E, like it's no joke, right? So people are constantly moving through life stages. So identify the life stage that you're in now and ask yourself the key questions to relate to that. You know, because sometimes with retired people as well, we'll all be talking to them and they'll be like, yeah, I just want to downsize. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, do you have family in the area? No. Okay, so like if you close your eyes, you're retired now, where do you want to be? A lot of times it's not where they are right now. So you want to ask yourself those hard questions of, where do I want to be? Because it's not something that we're brought up to do. I don't think we are. How many, you know, feel free to disagree with me in the comments, but I feel like, you know, we're all kind of programmed, like you're born here, you live here, or you move for work. Not a lot of you move because you want a different lifestyle, right? I think that's a newer concept. So you definitely want to identify life stage. That's number one. Number two, what are your key priorities? So like in my instance, one of the biggest priorities for me is natural light. Okay, that's so critical for me. Like, I want a house with a ton of natural light, and that's a thing. That's a thing. So what are your key things? Like, does the house need a bathtub? Everybody has a key. If you cook a lot, that kitchen's important. You know, if you have a larger family, you're gonna want more space generally. You know, backyard. Do you want a backyard? Do you want maintenance? Do you not want maintenance? Do you want a garden? Do you want to grow your own vegetables? Do you want nothing to do with any of that? What do you want? Okay, really write it down. And look, the worksheet will have all these questions. It'll be like yes, no, because then you need to think about, what is my personality type? Because personality type is really important. There's some people that love to be around people. They just love it. They want to be with other people all day long. And then there's other people that are like, I don't want to be near anyone. I want to go live in the woods. I want 2 acres. If I see my neighbor, I'm going to be really upset. Whereas someone else is going to be like, if I can't see the neighbor, I'm going to be a little nervous. You know, they like that camaraderie, right? Whereas other people don't. So what is your personality type? Very important that you ask yourself that, you know. And look, here's the thing. Of course, budget is so important. And budget is the key to all of this. No matter how you're doing this exercise, the math has to make sense. There's no budging on that. And sometimes people will be like, oh, well, I found it all, but my debt to income is going to be 60% or 70%, and I have no hope of ever getting it down. That's not finding it all. Because if you're finding it all, you're finding what you want and you're able to afford it and still have a life. Okay? I cannot stress that enough. Do not stretch to buy a house. It never works out well, and the house will never live up to your expectations. It would be like if you had a super loving family, like the best loving family, and then let's say you meet this person and they're lovely, you think, but your family thinks they're trash. That person, if you have to give up your family, they'll never live up to the expectation if you have that amazing family. It's virtually impossible. Am I saying this for the future for my son? Yeah, totally. It's tricky, right? Yes, do not give up your family for love, ever, especially if you have a mother who's a mortgage lender that loves you very, very much. Don't do it. Don't do it. But it's the same thing with a house. If you have to give up all of your creature comforts, right, like Netflix, Hulu, going out to eat, eating for a house, at first you're going to love that house, but then you're going to hate it because you're going to be house poor. So the key is sit down, guys, really think about what home means to you and what your key priorities are, what life stage you're in, and what your long-term goals are. And from there, write it all down, start shopping, and try to stay true to your